let's stand. I'm going to ask John Betsky to lead us in prayer. And then I'd like to welcome everybody here as we, before we get started, I'd like to have a roll call and call out a name.
Sabrina Norrie, present.
John Betts, present.
Robert Garner here.
Tommy Probe, present.
With the quorum being present, we can proceed with our meeting. Alderman McCoy he's on his way back from Washington. What he told me, he's getting his 35th degree.
33rd.
33rd? Okay. It's not black belt, it'll be with his Masons. And anyway, he said if he can make it, he may come in late. He's on his way back if he didn't get caught by traffic. So with that, all our minutes from our previous meeting were distributed to the aldermen earlier in the month, and they've had time to go over those. If we can go forward, I'd like to have a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor? Okay. Approved. All right, we have our first item on the agenda is going to be opening up our bids for the surplus property in the police department. And this is for a 2005 Ford F-150 Ford pickup. And I'm going to open these.
Mayor Kraft,
Yeah.
can you do the public comment on agenda items only? Just open up for public comment on just
I'm sorry, I didn't have that on here for public comment. That's my bad, I'm sorry. So I'd like to open up, have a motion to open up public comment on the agenda items.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Probst. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay. Anybody, thank you, Scott, for keeping me straight. One of the things we do is any kind of agenda item that we have, we can take public comment. It's not open for discussion, but if you have a comment on an agenda item, now would be the time that you can voice an opinion or concern dealing with an item that is on the agenda. In the future, if you have something that you want to get on the agenda, you would come meet with us or meet with your representative alderman, and they'll get with us. And if it's something that we can resolve in-house and in our office, we certainly want to do that. But if it's not something, then we'll certainly get you on the agenda and we'll bring it out to a full discussion in public. So with that being said, yes, sir.
Can we ask a question?
Well, you can make a comment, you can ask a question, but on any agenda item, yes.
Okay, on the agenda here,
Yes, on the agenda, on the table,
we're
yes.
annexing Cypress Point.
That's correct, we'll be.
Is it gonna cost the day any money?
Bill, that, we're gonna pre-file the ordinance to go forward with annexing Cypress Point. You know, as far as answering questions, there's gonna be public comment before we approve an ordinance. This is a pre-filing of the ordinance. We'll advertise the meeting that's coming up, be public comment, and at that time, all those questions will be answered. But but we'll get to that point then, so. But thank you for your comment. Anybody else? Okay, have a motion to close public comment.
Motion that public comments be closed.
Second by Alderman Probst, all in favor? Now we're to our business.
I actually have a question about this one. Did we authorize the sale of this in one of our previous meetings? Did we authorize the?
Vicky?
We did? Okay.
We didn't get a bid, can we rebid it? Police department.
Okay. I don't remember this one being on
John,
there.
I'll let you do the honors on this one.
This bid is for 2005 Ford truck. Kevin Davis, Faraday, he bids $326. bid is for the 2005 Ford pickup. It is by J.E. Robinson. The bid is $777.77. J.E. Robinson.
You got the phone number, it doesn't show an address, but we did have a phone number. That, well, let's look them up. It doesn't have an address on it. Just has a phone number. All right. We need a motion to accept that bid on the Ford F-150.
We normally just do a motion to take them under advisement and accept the lowest responsible bid, the highest responsible bid, excuse me.
Okay.
I'll make the motion that we take the bids under advisement and accept the highest bid.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. On item number 2, is discussion of the pre-filing of ordinance for the sale of property at 2024 Elmer Street, Vidalia, Louisiana. As you know, the last meeting we discussed that we don't want to be in the real estate business, and there's a home that's on Elmer Street that we've owned for some years, I understand, and we want to advertise those, but we did have to pre-file an ordinance to sell this property. And Scott, if you would, he's looked into that, and there's still some question on procedure on that.
No, Eleanor Street is fine. We can sell at public or private sale as long as we introduce an ordinance and pass an ordinance for the sale of surplus property. That's fine, and we will actually be able to do it by auction as well. I didn't find anything that would prohibit that.
Okay, so what will there be a public meeting on that as well for anybody interested in that property? We'll discuss that whether somebody wants it in a sealed bid or whether they want it in an auction type. Is that correct? Or?
Yeah, I think the ordinance that I drafted provides for the town to do it in the way that we feel makes the town the most money.
And do we need to decide on that method at this meeting or at the next one?
You can do it at the next meeting because we're going to have a public hearing and adopt at the next meeting.
Okay.
So I have a motion for us to pre-file that ordinance. Motion made, second by Alderman Gardner, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving on to item number 3, discussion pre-filing of the ordinance for the sale of property at 102 John Dale Drive. I'm going to revert again to Malcolm Moore as far as it's being, this is a lot, it doesn't have a structure on it, but I think there's a different procedure involved in that.
Same procedure, it's just a matter of, we've got to determine how we acquired it. For some reason, it's not on a single assessment, even though we do have property down there near it. It doesn't appear to be included on that assessment either, so I'm not sure if it's a tax adjudicated property or how we have come to own it. But prior to taking action to adopt the ordinance for that, so y'all know before next meeting, before any ordinance is adopted to sell it, how we acquired it and everything. And then we'll, when sold, both of these properties will be as and where it is, and the purchaser assuming all liabilities associated therewith. So,
And just for information on those public hearings, where if you have any, questions during the time, it will be open discussion. We will discuss all this thing. Okay, we have a motion to proceed with the pre-filed ordinance for sale of property 102 John Dale Drive.
I motion.
Motion by Alderman Gardner,
Second.
second by Alderman Dorey. All in favor? On item number 4, discussion of pre-filing of ordinance to assess a collection fee on debts owed to town of Vidalia, referred to collection agency. A little bit of background on that, and I'm going to ask Bill Murray here in a minute to address this a little bit further. In the past, it's been kept up with, but turned over to collection agencies, and there's no way to follow what's been collected and what's been kept up with and who still owes and so forth. We will try to determine that. That's one of the things we're working on very hard to do that. However, in discussion with going over something we discovered when investigating the muni codes that we're going over, this name of this company is came to light, and Bill has contacted them, and I'm going to let him tell you a little bit about what we're wanting to do with our collection. This is strictly dealing with utility bills. This doesn't involve anything else, any kind of collection of the town. It's strictly dealing with utilities that are charged off by somebody that either skips or otherwise. So, Bill?
Okay. Thank you, Mayor. In process of managing the city, we've had some difficulty. One of the issues we've talked about in staff meetings is collection of our utility bills, and 90-day and over utility bills that are turned over to the collection agency. Well, even the ones that aren't, how to handle it. And because we have not received anything from the collection agency, we're not getting much at all from them. We don't see any records of getting anything from them. But when Bobby and I were meeting with department heads and going over the muni codes, which is basically all the ordinances of the city, I found a section in one of them that said we have an avenue to collect our bills through LAMATS, which is Louisiana Municipal Advisory and Technical Services Bureau. A lot of words, but LAMATS is what we'll go by. And it said in the ordinance that we could attach their federal tax returns, their income tax returns, to get our money back, which I said, great. Told the mayor I thought that was great. Well, I called them, and it's not really so. That's what our ordinance said, but then we were reviewing the ordinances and trying to get them right. South Carolina was doing that, and it was found unconstitutional in their state to do that. Louisiana still may try it, but the pecking order down to municipalities is we're like, they got 10 already, and we're not even on the list, so we'd never get anything if they ever do try to do that. But LAMATS told me that they can collect our bills, and let's say it's a $100 bill, they add 25% to it, so it's $125 they collect, we get our full $100 back. So we're out nothing, we get our full bill back if they collect it, and they give us reports, so we know what's going on up to date. They were nice enough, had obviously a model ordinance and sent it, and I asked the mayor if he would bring it to you for approval so we can start that process. So that's how it developed.
And again, this is a pre-filing of an ordinance that we will have public comment and discussion on at a later date. This is strictly a pre-filed ordinance to get the process started.
One other thing, Mayor, if I could, I'm sorry, but the legislative auditors were here, and we were telling them about this, and they praised us for this effort because that's one thing they're really high on, is to see how bills are collected, what kind of process is there, what kind of success ratio we have. So it was good from their standpoint as well.
Yeah. Fee-wise, that's their fee, the $25 is all they're gonna get?
25%.
25%. We get no cost if they don't collect.
None whatsoever.
Okay. And then as far as the type of time frame and their success rate and their success rate just as compared to another person, what's their
Well,
success
they have a
rate?
much higher success rate than who we're using now, at least from what they've given us in documentation, but until we try and find out, we can't do it.
You don't have any statistics on what their collection rate is?
No, I don't, not with me.
They were in our ordinance.
Yeah.
But when we dropped off, you I think the cost involved with other people who we give it to, and they were keeping a percentage if they got anything, but there's really no record of any efforts they made. And from what I understand, this company will give you, they will give you reports, I understand.
Yeah, quarterly reports.
Right.
Quarterly reports on what their efforts have been, because if somebody skips, I'll be honest with you, they hard to find. I was a banker 23 years, somebody wants to disappear, they disappear. So anyway, but they'll give us reports and what they've collected in their efforts. And that's one of the things that we're talking about, the legislative audit shows, you've got to show an effort to collect the public's money. Right. Because it is the people's money, and you've got to show an effort to collect it. You just can't say, oh, we're not going to worry about that, can't find it. You got to show an effort to do that. So that's what this is, pre-filing this ordinance pursuant. So can I have a
They
motion?
sound better than the others.
Yeah. Can I have a motion that we proceed with this pre-filing?
I make that motion.
Motion made by Alderman Pope, second by Alderman Gardner, all in favor?
Aye.
So approved. Okay, moving on to item number 5. We're also, discussing the pre-filing of ordinance to annex Cypress Point subdivision. For a little bit of information, many of y'all know Ricky Knapp, one of our previous aldermen, and he's got a beautiful project going that I think is going to be a big addition to our town. he wants to go ahead and set the wheels in motion to go ahead and proceed with annexing his development. Again, this is still gonna come up for public comment, discussion. We'll let him at that time. Anybody have questions, those questions will be answered there, but he wanted to go ahead and start the process, and that's why we got him on the agenda today to start that. So, be the question for, ask for a vote on that.
I do.
Okay?
In the past, it was always the process, after having spoken with several developers who developed and been annexed, the process to annex was done after infrastructure was built and then tested. What is the reason in this case that we would change our method of going ahead and starting the annex process prior to the infrastructure being completed and tested?
If the developer, I think, wants to go ahead and do that, I don't see why, especially if you're gonna do it at some point, I would think you'd wanna go ahead and do that, my opinion, I mean, but, you know, somebody's got a different, I look at it as progress and something that we certainly wanna do, I don't see why we wouldn't. And the building code is still gonna fall under Louisiana guidelines, it's also, if it falls under us, he won't have to go through two sets of fees from my standpoint, because right now he's considered Concordia Parish, am I not right? There's gonna be an inspector there that's gotta do that, it's gonna cost him money, and then after he builds it, then we're gonna make him go through that fee process again, and it's really not necessary. No, okay? Oh, well, we,
I'm speaking on behalf of Shumplay, who has developed before. We were told it was not a nice thing to do, but we were told by the city engineer and other engineers that it was a requirement that the infrastructure be in and passed muster before we could appeal for annexation.
yeah, but what I wanna do is that's what we're gonna pre-file the motion, it'll be public comment, anybody's welcome to come there, we'll, you know, proceed with it, if you want to get it pre-filed, and we'll have these things, and that's the step, somebody wants to investigate that and show, you know, we're not, you know, following the due process, you know, then we'll discuss it then, but.
Can I add, we actually contacted the parish concerning this matter and talked with Oliver Schultz, who's, I don't know, his title, parish coordinator, developer, command under or whatever. Anyway, it was his recommendation, but he knew that we were going to eventually ask the board, petition the board to move it into the city limits. So on his recommendation, he said, I'd go ahead and do it now. That way you'd have your city inspection there within the city limits, doing the inspections, making sure that it's built all up to city codes, city requirements are being followed. So we had planned on waiting until afterwards, until Mr. Schultz recommended we go ahead and proceed with it. So that's the reason we're here now.
But when you were the alderman, wasn't it common practice in
It
all of the
was,
previous
but,
developers that it was done after infrastructure?
It was, but the 24 years I've been alderman, I think we've been in this predicament or this situation 4 times. You know, it just happens so few, so often. There's nothing in black and white.
Okay, so there was nothing in writing that required those developers
Not
to
that
do
I-
it that way. That was just a decision by the board.
Not that I know of.
You can actually annex, you can annex open land into the city.
Right, and you can
Just
do
be
that.
open and 2 years later decide you wanna build a subdivision.
And it's
Build a
best to
city
do
code.
it now that there's no residents living there and affect any kind of voter lines or districts.
I certainly understand why he wants to, another reason why, and I didn't want to get into this, this will come later meeting. If he were to go ahead and do this and construct, and he has somebody that he needs to go ahead and start construction, and it's gonna be a resident there, you open up it's more complicated to annex if you've got a resident there than it is if you go ahead and do this open ground.
You have to get approval through Oliver Schultz from the Department of Justice if there are voting residents on the property. So like, for instance, during my tenure, BCHT was put in, and all this land right here that the town of Vidalia owns was put in. And we did it before anybody got on the property, even though we don't have any residents on this property or that property as well. Kind of under the same premise that, you know, as long as there's no voting persons on there, they don't have to get approval to make sure it doesn't upset any ratio for the Department of Justice and voting regulations, which I think will be up again in 2020 at the next census. So,
Okay, so,
Buzz, do you mind not making a comment?
okay, then I'm gonna close, so we need.
It is quite difficult for the public to understand what the annexation would be without seeing the plans and the restrictions on the properties that may be there. There are some restrictions on that property now in existence. And of course, the residents on that particular strip adjacent to it need to be protected as far as their home values and so on, as well as the original owners of the property who conveyed the property with restrictions on it. So I trust that that's being taken care of, and, or that the public would have an opportunity to see the plan.
But that's the process. We're starting this is getting it to you. We're starting the pre-ordinance, that it'll be advertised, the meeting, that what we're gonna discuss, and then you'll have opportunity to comment. We'll have a full discussion on it. This starts the process. If we can't start the process, we can never have the conversation. So that's what we're doing. We're starting the conversation. So I'd like to see if we could now, can I have a motion to proceed with the pre-filing ordinance to annex?
I motion that the decision of the pre-filing of the annex,
Second? Second, Alderman Probst, all in favor?
roll call.
Roll call? Roll call, Alderman Probst? 4. Alderman Betts?
4.
Alderman Dorey?
Against.
Okay, moving on now.
Excuse me, Buzz, I think the Youngs wanted to be included in that motion for the record.
it's in the pre-filed ordinance. The Youngs own a .5 acre tract, and they've signed the petition to annex. It's all in contiguous property,
It was
with,
it's in the pre-file.
Mr. Knapp's property.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to item number 6, C&M Crawfish, application for an outdoor sign within the city limits. I want to say thank you guys for, I don't know about you, but I'm proud of your food. Got a great place to eat, and I know that y'all are going to move forward and you're going to grow your business with the town. And has everybody had an opportunity to look at that sign that they proposed? Any questions? Have a motion to accept that application?
I'll make that motion.
Motion made.
Second.
Second by Alderman Probst, all in favor? Okay, moving on to item number 7, review and discussion of occupational license tax ordinance. Let me give a little bit background to what's going on here. We're working with a company, and we're looking at consolidating our ordinances and making them available for public viewing. That'll be available on your computer. You can pull it up and read it. However, what they're doing is Bill and the department heads and different ones within the city that are directly affected. Bill pointing to Bobby Pop. What we're doing is going through all of our ordinances, and then we're working with a company that is looking at what state statute is involved in some of these ordinances, whether any of them are superseding or so forth. And they've been working very hard and doing a very, very good job at reviewing these ordinances. One of the things that's come up within this pretty quick, and it's one of the things we want to address, and I think the discussion tonight, is the occupational license ordinance dealing with peddlers. And y'all know I'm talking about the door-to-door sales and things that we need to upgrade, because our previous ordinances they're thinking it's not constitutional, where the previous ordinance did not allow peddlers at all. Is that not right? Our previous ordinance?
That's correct.
And they don't think it's constitutional that you can do that. So what they were wanting to go ahead and do is on that particular ordinance, we might want to go ahead and maybe start some kind of review on it and maybe an amendment to it. And I'm gonna let Alderman Betts discuss a little bit about the purpose of it on that, from that standpoint.
We kind of have conflicting ordinances. The last ordinance that was passed by the board, we have a copy. Now, again, I apologize that the number got 418, and the fact that was copied was not the right ordinance. It should have been 481, I believe, but that was my fault. But they kind of have some conflicting ordinances. 555, I believe, is the ordinance that the last one was passed, where we adopted state ordinances, which does allow for the provision for peddlers, which is kind of in conflict with what we have had in the past, with no solicitation or what. The purpose of this will be to make our ordinance conform with the rules. The only thing that we'll need to do is to regulate. What we're hearing is that you can't legislate or stop itinerant vendors, but you can regulate them. And so right now we just have under 555, there's a general provision for peddlers, but this will give us a chance to go back and to write some regulation into under peddlers, such as the times they could do it, that kind of thing. But it's to get, as the mayor was saying, it is to get what we're being told as being an unconstitutional ordinance lawful.
One of the things the aldermen are in charge of, and it's very important, are the ordinances and things. What we're trying to do, and they're working very hard, they're meeting hours on each week, going through our ordinances with the different departments and things that, you know, we want to get, if we say we're doing things the right way, we want to back it up with ordinance. And we're going through and working with this company it's got all the state statutes, and we're going to blend those. And any changes to be made, we'll be bringing those to the alderman here in the very near future, letting them review those things, and they'll be making the decision on making those and going forward with that. So, Bobby, have you got any comments you'd like to make on this, what procedures we're doing on updating all of our ordinances?
Mainly what we're doing is trying to make sure that everything in writing that we're going to put online agrees with every process we do, and that it's all constitutional and timely, and that everything matches. So we just want to make sure it's all right.
Can I ask a question on that, Melissa?
Sure.
What is a peddler? Is this door to
Door
door?
to door. So, you know, I know that my parents recently they've had some people come through and they felt like they were shysters and took advantage of things. And if you have these people requiring their register and so forth, you limit that, and they got to notify the police. And there's a procedure, so that way if we have someone who's elderly or shut in, and they're having somebody come to their door, they can pick up the phone and call the police department. I've got so-and-so with this company saying they're selling, you know, something, and so. It's a safety
Selling off a
thing.
truck. If they sell off a truck, they got to have a business license and all that
Exactly.
stuff.
Exactly. So, anyway, we just wanted to discuss that and let you know that if we are working on maybe doing an amendment to that. And once we nail down exactly what that is, we'll be bringing that into the future.
So how will that affect, like, the ice cream truck, or, like, if you have churches or schools who are having fundraisers door to door, or how is that gonna, will it also incorporate garage sales that people have in their own carports? Is it gonna be worded strictly for door-to-door sales, or would we have to make exceptions for the other things that we should and would allow?
Sabrina, what we're doing is, we're taking our ordinances, and we're taking suggestions and recommendations from the Muni Code Company, who's saying they've done this for hundreds of municipalities, and they're saying this language would be better if it says this, and we meet with department heads, and they say that's okay with them. All we're doing is circling it and saying, okay, we're not changing anything. Then when we get to an ordinance like this, they'll make a recommendation of how your language should be.
Okay.
Now that we know we have conflicting ordinances, that's what John's brought to our attention, this 555. And what we looked at in our meetings was strictly the ordinance that said it was outlawed.
Right.
And they said that's probably not constitutional. So we circled all that and said something's got to be done about it. So what'll happen is, in your meetings, when you take these codes that we'll review, we'll make notes on, you'll go through them, y'all will go through them individually and probably in meetings of two or whatever together to try to say, this is what it should say. We'll meet with a department head and we'll say, this ordinance says this is what you do. And they say, well, we're not doing it that way. This way works better. So we're listening to what they say, and it works better for our town. We'll make a recommendation, notes on there, to possibly change it to what we're actually doing, so everything matches up. So you'll be able to craft this ordinance
Okay.
around everything you're asking about.
Okay, great.
And y'all have input on that when they make the changes, where we know, what's being done to what they're recommending. That's one of those questions you're asking. Y'all will make, you guys will make that decision. Y'all will be making that for sure. Okay, any other questions? I don't think there's any kind of action we need on that tonight. Okay, I have one more thing, and then other than to let you know that the legislative auditor came in Wednesday a week ago, and they've started. Now, they've not worked every day, but it's been sporadic. They are commuting back and forth, and they're working very hard, and they're going to do an exit exam with us and go over, some recommendations, and also look at some things. They're pulling some forensic stuff, and this is our first time, so we don't know what all. We give them what they want. And also, Silas Simmons is also in-house working, has started last Monday, and they've been in-house and just, they've been working hard, and they've been very forthcoming with a lot of information, and actually, they're also bragging on the way things are being handled now with our town, and they're very excited as go forward, knowing that, any requests they make, all of our people in the financial position from everybody, it just needs to be patted on the back. Even the City Hall office are doing a wonderful job, and I think y'all should be very proud of our workers. One other last thing before we adjourn, I received from the LMA, which is an association for all municipalities for the state of Louisiana. We recently had our 79th annual LMA convention in Alexandria, and they sent me an enclosed memorial resolution that was adopted at the annual business meeting on Saturday, July 31st, held in conjunction with the 79th annual LMA convention in Alexandria. And they made a resolution memorial resolution to the family of former long-term city attorney Jack Hendrick McLemore Jr. And I'd like to get this to Scott. Can I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Alderman Probst, second by Alderman Boyd. All in favor? Thank you very much for coming. Anybody like to visit, I'll stick